Hello, everybody. Welcome to Happy Wednesday. This is your host, Dr. Leland. Yes, it is that time. I just realized a lot of people are asking me, when is your show? I don't understand. Do you have audio room? Why does it feel like you're here every day? Actually, I just realized I am. I am in your ears, in your eyes every day, multiple times a day. I'm in audio rooms. I wanted to announce that I got a deal from an organization, and it's called Influencing You as an influencer, and I will be teaching my innermost secrets on how I level up myself and Level Up Academy in terms of social media. Social media is the currency of today's business. And you're like, I don't really like social media. It's okay if you don't like it. I'm not nagging on anything, but understand that if you want to reach people all over the world, you are given the chance, right? And it is up to you to take that chance. And if you're not ready, it's okay. But I beg you to not talk crap about other people who are in it, right? Talking negative things about others and what others are doing because they're doing it wrong, it's not conducive to your own growth. You need to remember, guys, we are walking, living, breathing people whose capacity is always just between 2 to 5%. And I did say the word just. You're walking with just 5% of your consciousness. 95% of yourself is subconscious. So the more you hate, the more you dislike, the more you compare yourself to others, the more you're not going to be happy, B, grow. Take in everything, bad, good, the ugly, and then throw away things that you do not want to live in your subconscious. Okay? So that is what I am hoping to give away today as well. So, you guys saw my video on 10 signs of high level intentions. Keep watching it. It's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, it's on LinkedIn. See if you have high level of intentions and follow your gut. Right? Follow your gut. Don't ever question it. I make mistakes all the time when I make excuses for people that I really like, but man, they're nasty. They're like a cold. There's no medicine for it, right? There's no medicine for nasty people except getting rid of them as fast as you can. So today we are talking about from surviving to thriving. I love it. Navigating life after cancer with Jon Kessler. Just know that Jon is living that life. He's not working off of theory. He's not working off of the what ifs. He is working based on his experiences from himself. He is offering himself to the community time. And what do we do with time? That is the most precious commodity anyone can give is time, because you can't buy back time. But Jon is giving his time to you to help you navigate cancer, whatever forms of cancer you have. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States or outside of the United States. If you have it, Jon is here for you, right? So that's what we're doing. Look at that. Look at him. He's all busy and he has a chance to smile. Look at the picture. Isn't he so handsome? I'm so glad that he's still here, right? I am so glad. So, oh my God, guys, I've been working hard with my sister, Susanna Dawn. And I had a conversation with Paulette Talem, and she's like, everybody's doing anthology, but yours is just different. But would it be so cool to level up in 2025? I'm like, oh, tell me more. And she said, what about if you do not have a theme, right? And you just basically get an anthology, just make it 2,000 words, and just have people tell their own story. No theme, no nothing, right? Because most of our anthology has a theme. So if you want to join us, this is limited seats and it ends in November 30th for this price. Usually we do it like $500, but this is my first time doing no theme. My brain is bouncing. I have ADHD. Help. But I'm willing to do it. Because why? For the love of people, for the love of community. I want you to leave life with legacy and impact. That has always been my goal, no matter what I do. Legacy and impact, because we are not permanently stapled in our life. Someday we will exit this world and go to the next. But what kind of legacy and impact are you living your what? Your neighbor, your great great grandkids, your frenemies, great great grandkids, right? You're telling a story. So if you want to have a story about a goldfish dying and you switching your goldfish so that your child doesn't, get crying moments and break their hearts, which I did, by the way, with my daughter. She found out 5 years later that that wasn't the original goldfish. I mean, stories that are funny, stories that are sad, stories that shows resilience. I don't care. We don't care. But we do max it at 2,000 words. And you see that QR code right there? That is the QR code. And right now, again, this offer, okay, will not go back again this way. I'm going crazy right now thinking about it. But this offer is only good for the end of the month. And then next month, it's going to go up $100 more. And then in January, it's going to go up to the basic 500 that we have, right? And you're like, CJ, what is the benefit of yours and other anthologies? We have an in-house marketing. Your voice can be delivered in multiple platforms in audio and video. We have television that comes with our anthology. And if you're not part of our authors club, it actually is about $150 for 45 minutes for you. And it comes free. So that's why, because everything I do is to amplify your message. I also have this offer right now. It was on sale, but I only gave it to certain people. I know you're like, what kind of sale do you have? You only have elite friends that you're putting it in. I'm like, yeah, because I had specific people, but now I'm putting it in public. This is the fourth and last magazine for Level Up Circle this year for 2024. But this is something different. It's called the Year of Reinvention. I want you to think about your business, okay? Or even your career if you don't have a business. And I want you to think and be intentional, guys, okay? I'll tell you what, this year, I have leveled up my TV, my radio I just got, press release I just got, my magazine I just got. I just became a publisher this year on my own, self-published. And basically my press release room, like everything I leveled up this year because I was very intentional on how I can take everything. I mean, everything when it comes to amplifying your message. Okay. So this one is reinvent yourself. How are you going to do that? You need to be intentional. So I want you to tell me your innermost secrets publicly. I know it's not a secret anymore, right? That's what CJ does to amplify you. I want you to tell me what you're manifesting next year to reinvent yourself. Okay? And then next year, I'm going to check in with you, same time of the year towards the end, and see that everything that you've listed on this magazine came true. So hoping that you're going to be in, we will see, right? So that's what we do is we want to be intentional. I'm going to help you be intentional on your efforts to make sure that you are going to be, right? Intentional on growing, even if you grow one time, so that you will see the difference between being intentional on what you want and just letting life go, right? It's like, where is Waldo or where is so and so? Where is CJ? Where is Susanna? 2024 and 2025. I want you to be intentional on concentrating on your own what? Business, your own personal growth. Forget about everybody else. You can literally learn from others, including their bad habits and their thought process, actually, right? But if you're intentional on what you want and you're very resolute on what you want, you will be fine. So this magazine is coming out around January 4th, I believe. Okay. And then, of course, I want to make sure that you guys know that we are getting our book, Against the Grain. This is our fourth anthology book this year. Finding Belonging in a World of Resistance. And this comes out on Kindle December 6th. We're going to give it to you for free because we want to share our stories for about 24 hours. And then it goes back up. And remember, the money that you spend on this book, all our books goes to nonprofit usually, right? And I said usually because all of them are actually. The other one, we just buy trees to Madagascar and Honduras on our first two books. The Rebel with the Cause is going to a nonprofit for autism and mental health issues. And then this one is going to domestic violence, right? We are always supporting our community. I think I've talked about a lot of things. And then, oh, I forgot my Mike to Millions book is on 50% sale right now. If you go to Constance Leland and you'll find Mike to Millions, this is the future of business, guys. You need your own podcast, okay? I do have a podcast circuit and it is free. We meet once a month. We're going to be meeting in December because we already met in November. And we also have our authors club. We have a book club. We have a lot of clubs basically at Level Up Academy. And we partner with HOB so we can help more people in our community. Ta-da! I'm back to my road. I really miss my road, right? But are you guys ready for John? We're at that time, right? Are you guys ready for John? I think John is back. Woo-wee! Let's go. Are you ready?
Hey, everybody.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good, CJ. Thanks for that warm welcome. It's
I
great to be part of this.
I love it. So first, I have to take a pause. YouTube, thank you for being here. 842 is watching us live right now, John. So smile, no pressure, just go with the flow.
I will do that. I will do that.
All right. So this is my first question always on Wednesdays is think back 20 years ago and find within your timeline some of the significant changes in your life that got you here where you are today.
Okay. Are you asking me that question?
That is correct.
Okay. So 20 years ago, um, I was probably going through, let's see, I had been divorced, just recently got divorced. And was just trying to figure out where I was going. What was I going to do with my life? And I made that conscious decision that, you know what, I was just going to kind of reinvent myself. I was going to put myself out there. I was just going to challenge myself to just be the best version of myself. I had never lived alone. I basically went from my parents' house to college to marriage. I had met my first wife in college. So this was really the first time that I was kind of living on my own and kind of just trying to figure out who I was. Um, it did pose challenges, but I think I made that conscious decision that I was just going to put myself out there instead of sitting home feeling sorry for myself and figuring out, what I was going to do and isolate myself from the world. I said, okay, I'm going to live my life the way that I want to do it now on my own terms. And that's kind of what I did. And it really was probably one of the best decisions that I made, because otherwise I would have just kind of cowered into a corner and just not learned how to live life. And that's kind of what helped me kind of transition, and get through that cancer journey that I had, years later.
Wow. So, when did you get diagnosed with your own cancer?
So what happened was in 2017, I had recently turned 50. And, here in the United States, they say, okay, at 50, it's time to get your colonoscopy. So I went and for a colonoscopy, and After coming out of it, the doctor came in and said, well, we found a couple of things. First of all, we found some polyps, which we removed, which isn't, you know, um, rare or not, something that's uncommon. And second of all, we found a small growth on your transverse colon, which is the part of the colon that kind of runs perpendicular to your body. So we tattooed it. We took a couple of cells to biopsy it, and we'll let you know. 2 days later, I got a call back confirming the diagnosis that it was cancerous, and was told that I needed to find a surgeon to have it removed, number one, and an oncologist, number two, to be treated. And I remember just making the decision, okay, I'm going to go into survival mode. I'm going to basically do whatever the doctors tell me to do, because there was no other alternative, right? It was just like, okay, I'm going to turn my life over and to these people, and hopefully the result will come out, positive, and I'll be fine. But that's kind of what happened. And this was July of 2017. In September of 2017, I had surgery. In October of 2017, I started 3 months of chemotherapy. And that was a very hard and difficult time in my life because I was physically sick. I couldn't eat for 3 months. And the effects of the chemo were just daunting. I was exhausted. And I really didn't have, the emotional support that I felt like, looking back on, that I needed. I had friends and family who were very supportive, but there weren't a lot of people in my circle that had gone through cancer before and could understand and empathize with what I was going through. And even back then, the medical establishment wasn't kind of treating the person, they were treating the illness. So again, a lot of things that I had to kind of deal with and figure out on my own, and it was a very trying time in my life.
Yeah, colonoscopy. I hate it. I've had 2 times. The first one, let's just say that I was a go-getter. Yeah, we'll go with that. And
Right.
I had 24 units. Remember, college full-time is 12 units, right? We have
Yes.
like 4 class. I had 24 units because I had a double major. I don't know what I was thinking. And I also had a full-time job because I used to work for Geico. And I would work third shift and overnight shift, and then go to school during that time. And I was running on caffeine and Red Bull. And I don't know if I fainted or something to that effect. And so I ended up in the emergency room. And then they basically had done all tests because I was pretty healthy. Like, what happened? Maybe she just, and I have hypoglycemia, so I can't have low blood sugar. But I was eating that day something. And they basically found out through colonoscopy and endoscopy that I had holes in my intestines because I don't eat. And I was running on caffeine and Red Bull. So my heart was also like giving up on me. So I was like, so I stopped everything. And I was taking medicine for my scoliosis at that time, and it was really strong medicine. So it was rubbing with no food and like literally that, right? And luckily, I wasn't drinking because then it would have been worse. That's what the doctor said. So I had to treat that. This was in my 20s, okay? Then around my 30s, I had IBS. I think it was stressed. And I had another colonoscopy. So I'm one of those people that haven't hit 50 yet. I'm going to be there soon. But I already had 2 colonoscopies, so I'm good there. But I had a different type of cancer. And I think you and I were talking about that.
Yes.
The moment that you have that message, the feeling of being alone is like being struck by a truck, that you're alone.
Right.
And then you're like, I don't want to be a burden to people. So I'm not going to tell them. Right?
Right. No,
That
you definitely
moment.
do. Right.
Yeah.
No, you want to isolate, right? You don't, like you said, you don't want to be a burden. You don't know what, like, we don't know what we don't know. And then, you know this firsthand when you go to meet that oncologist for the first time, right? And they speak and they start talking to you, and it's like a foreign language because you don't understand, first of all, what they're talking about, right? And because you have no knowledge. And second of all, emotionally, you're in such a bad place that to sit here and try and process all of this information, it's almost impossible to do because of everything that is swirling around inside of your head. And it's like, where do I start? And that's, like I said, that's why I made that conscious decision to say, okay, I'm just going to do what the doctors tell me. Luckily, I had a friend who had gone through their cancer journey a few years before, and they came with me to that first appointment, and they said, you know what? We're going to write everything down that the doctor tells you. And that's one of the things that I encourage, people who have just been recently diagnosed is, go in with a list of questions. Go, if you're not in a place where you can process this, go with a friend or a loved one, right? Either be prepared, write down the questions that you have, right? And somehow record them. And, and the other thing I'll say is, like, most often than not, an oncologist will speak to you, until you fully understand what's going on. So if you're not sure what they tell you the first time, say, look, can you explain that to me again? Or what does that mean? When I went through my oncologist the first time, and he's like, you have stage 3A colon cancer. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean, right? I understand there's different stages, right? And there's, he talked about cell differentiation and permeation into my, lymph nodes. And I'm like, what does that mean, right? So, and that's the other thing that I advocate too, is that education is power, right? Because again, we were saying, like, when you told you have a disease, and it doesn't have to be cancer, it could be, heart disease, it could be, dementia or some other type of disease, that power gets taken away from you. But the more you know about what's going to happen, what's available to you, right? That's how you get that control back. And when you get that control back, that's when you can kind of say, okay, I'll do whatever it's going to take to overcome this, to beat this, to fight this, whatever that disease is. So, that's one of the things I advocate. And one of the things that I kind of work on, and I have a session specifically with that for my clients, is educating yourself. How do you educate yourself? Where do you educate yourself? Why do you educate yourself? Again, because it all stems from the mindset of, the more I know, the more I can fight, the more I can be in control and dictate how my cancer journey or illness journey is going to go.
I love that. I'm glad that you talked about mindset, because that was my next question, is how can individuals, cultivate a positive mindset and build resilience while physically, like, facing that emotional and physical challenge of cancer? I know how I did it, but how do you actually help your clients go through this process?
Well, it's about, right. It's about identifying, like, let's say I'm fearful of something, right? Like I'm a fear of, I'm going to lose my hair with treatment. Okay, well, that's a valid fear. Well, what have you been afraid of in the past? And how have you overcome that fear? Well, why don't we just apply that to what you're going through now? Like, what techniques have you done in the past, right? It's building on past successes is to create the mindset. So that's number one, is to how to overcome fear, right? It's about, another thing that I would say is, emphasize the positive, what you have in your life. Excuse me. Tap into what's there to you. We talked about, how it can be isolating, having a disease and not being a burden. The flip side of that is, don't isolate, socialize, give yourself some degree of normalcy, right? Spend time with friends and family. You may not want to talk about it all the time, but do the things that you enjoy, right? Do things that you are capable of doing, right? Even small successes are steps forward, right? So you may just say, okay, you know what? Today I went to the movies with my spouse, and we went to see a great movie, right? That's a victory, right? Build upon those victories. And when you build on small victories, that shifts your paradigm to, like, hey, you know what? I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And that's what starts to kind of get the ball rolling. Like, okay, I can do this. I can fight this. I can accomplish things, right? And that's about the mindset, because it all stems from the mindset. If you're not in a place where you feel like you can fight, you're not going to fight, right? So do things that will make you feel good. Do things that make you happy. Do things where you get pleasure and enjoyment from. Do things, um, make sure you get enough rest, right? Make sure you exercise, make sure you eat, make sure do things that you're capable of doing. And when you accomplish them, that's when the mindset kind of gets that place where it needs to be.
I want to address Sister Susanna's comments, and I'll tell you a
Okay.
story about this. She said, "So true. We don't know what we don't know when the doctors start explaining things. Just be careful about trusting Dr. Google as opposed to your medical doctor." And I want to continue that conversation. It's because this is what happens, right? Especially if you
Right.
have OCD and you have panic disorder and OCD, it is not a good combo. Going to Dr. Google and you don't know what the heck you're talking about, and you're listing all this medical terms that they're saying to you as if that is
Right.
the only option that you have, is frustrating. Because when my doctor told me that I had cancer, she was so cold. I had switched right away. And she's like, "Yeah, by the way, if you don't get it surgery, you'll be dead in December." Like, she literally said it like that. No empathy, no passion, knowing I had two beautiful baby girls. Like, they were babies at that time. And I was like, first time in my life, I couldn't even say a word other than I wanted to just cry my eyes out. And so I think I want to talk about, just because they're also medical doctor doesn't mean they're your only option. Okay. You don't need to stick
Right.
to one doctor, because that was my experiences. I had to take the best doctor I could possibly have, and the best surgeon I could get. She was from Spain. She came to Mayo Clinic, and then I think she went to Johns Hopkins, and I drove to Johns Hopkins to get my surgery. We were close then, though. We were living in Virginia at that time. So Maryland, it
Right.
was like right across this,
Yes.
the Pacific right there. But I wanted to advocate for myself. And also, just because you have a doctor doesn't mean they're all knowing. Okay. Just want you to know that. What are your experiences so far with your cancer during, having multiple doctors?
Well, it was funny because I found a doctor. I'm in northern New Jersey, and at the time, I was in a relationship with someone whose best friend was a doctor in a group, and she recommended someone to me, an oncologist. And after the first time I met him, I was like, okay, this is the person that I want to do everything with, right? He was extremely, I mean, he was a young guy, but I felt comfortable. I felt good. And every time that I visited and went to a follow-up appointment after chemo and all of that, he would always say to me, "John, is there anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to share?" So I think when it comes to like finding a specialist, I think you have to have that, confidence and that connection. And I felt that very instantly with my oncologist. Now, for everything that he was, again, when it comes to treating a person and not the illness, there is a huge difference between empathy and sympathy, right? And that's kind of why I do what I do, right? Is because, and that's the connection that I can make with clients. And when I speak to groups, is like, I'm one of you. I've been where you are. All the things that you probably are dealing with, or some of the things that you're dealing with, the negativity, the fear, the anger, the depression, the guilt, all of that, the physical aspects of it. It doesn't matter what form of cancer you have, right? I felt a lot of that. So I can empathize with what you're dealing with, right? And you could be the greatest doctor in the world. You could be the greatest social worker, the greatest psychologist. But if you haven't been where that person is at that moment going through it, they're not going to open up to you, right? They're not going to feel that empathy that they would, or that comfort level that they would with talking to someone who is part of this community. And the other thing I do is I encourage people to get involved with support groups, right? Get involved with a support group. Don't do this alone, right? Because it's important to hear. You never know when you're going to hear your story, that someone's going to sit there and go, oh, wow. Someone's going to tell their story and you're going to go, oh, that's me, right? That he or she I'm going through exactly what he or she went through, right? And the flip side of it is you telling your story is you're never going to know, you never know who you're going to impact, right? You never know who someone, we talked about that mindset. So by us kind of telling our stories, we never know who we're going to influence, and in their mindset that they're going to say, oh, wow, if CJ can beat cancer, or if Jon can beat cancer, I can beat cancer, right? So that's what we do. That's what we try to do. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you are talking about support, because I want to move forward to what you do for the community, right? That's why we're here today, is to
Right.
share your story. But sharing a story is great, but what are we doing with our own adversity and what our own stories that we can share to others? Like Michelle Ramos is here, and she has been
Right.
dealing, and I've seen her cry and celebrate, and she shares her celebration with me, and I feel privileged that she does, because
Mhm.
I truly appreciate it when people are getting out there to prove to themselves more than anybody that you can do it. But even people who are like us, who have survived things in life and adversity, each and every one of us do have our own adversity. Now, support system, I want to talk about that, because that's part of what you do, is you're a support system. So what role do support systems like family, friends, like you talked about, support groups, play in helping cancer patients move beyond that survival mode to thriving? I want to talk about what you do for your community, your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important, right? I mean, it is. You can't go through this alone. You can't do this alone, right? Like I said, we talked about very easily. It's very easily to just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to do. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with. I don't want to be a burden on people. Your family and friends want to be there for you. They want to support you. They want to help you, right? So let them do it. And the other thing is, by allowing them to do some of the things that you're incapable of doing, right? It takes some of the pressure off of you, right? It takes some of that old feeling of overwhelmness, of fear, of scheduling an appointment, how am I going to get to the appointment? How am I going to get food? How am I going to do all of this? And when you do that, right, when you let go of a lot of that, right, that frees you up to focus in on what you can do, what you can control. And what you can control is your mindset, right, and how you take care of yourself as you go through your cancer journey, right? If you're not dealing with all the little BS of daily life, someone else is doing that for you, right? That it goes back to being in that mindset where you can fight, right? So allow your friends and family to do that, right? Let go of the things that are holding you back from thriving, right? Right? When I talk about surviving from going from surviving to thriving, what that means is don't just do the minimum, right? Do the things that you can do so you can feel more like yourself as you go through the cancer journey, right? So use what resources you have available to you to let go, right? I understand pride is you know, asking for help. Sometimes people think of it as a negative thing, right? Like, I don't want to seem weak. I don't want to, like, if I ask for help, I'm weak, right? Or I'm needy. But, asking for help is a sign of strength, right? It's knowing your limitations and what you're capable of, right? And people will see that vulnerability. People will see that authenticity, and they'll be willing to help. They'll reach out, right? Don't don't put the weight of the world on your shoulders when you're going through an illness, right? Control what you can control. Control what goes on inside your own four walls of your mind and your body. Let everybody else deal with that stuff.
I agree. So I'm gonna give you like 7 steps that I did when I went through this journey. The first thing that I did was focus on self-care. First
Right.
and foremost, I was a mom because I had to take care of my babies. They were little. But it was important for me to rest. So when they nap, I nap. I actually
Yeah.
forced them to nap because I was always tired. So
Right.
I'm like, let's take a nappy. Another thing is nourish yourself, right? Prioritize nutrition and support for your body and healing and energy levels. So if you don't take vitamins or, good food and good nutrients, then your body's already kind of dying as it is every day, right? Stay
Yes.
active. When you're stagnant and you're staying just looking at your walls and you're depressed, your spirit dies. So stay active, go out. I'm not saying run a mile. Obviously, you don't have energy when you have cancer,
Right.
but just even go and drive if you can still drive.
Right.
Open the windows, go to the beach, go to the woods, walk, listen to the birds, something basic like that, but stay active so that your mind can stay active because mental
Yes.
health matters the most when you're going through this journey. Another thing is what John's talking about is build and learn on your support system. You got to have rules of engagement, right? Yes, we feel bad all the time because we feel like a burden already and that heaviness is looming when you're going through this, but asking for help and open to receive support. Because even sometimes we say we ask for help, but deep inside we really hate asking for help. That body of yours actually will feel it, and then you get snappy on your caregivers or your family or your friends. Like what John said, join a support group and communicate openly to your loved ones, and educate yourself and be your own advocate. But you don't have to be alone because that's what John's business is, right? He is an advocate for you. He understands or tries to understand some part of treatment. Be your own advocate by speaking up, and set goals. Have a very clear, cleansing type of goals. Like, okay, this is how long does this take? What happens before surgery, after surgery? What's the likelihood of me dying? Like that conversation has to be have, and that's the most uncomfortable thing ever, but it's really important. Another thing, number 4 for me, is finding meaning and purpose of life, right? Practice those small victories and things that brings you joy, even it's a puppy thing in Instagram, or helping others. And when you're volunteering even on the phone, because sometimes you really lack energy, all you want to do is sleep all day. Believe me, I know. Rekindle some of your passion. If you wanted to knit, I was knitting. I taught my kids how to knit during those times. And then adapt and thrive by embracing the change. Your life, the more you resist, is like, oh my God, I used to be able to bike. Now all I want to do is sleep. Stop guilt tripping yourself. Okay. It is your current life. Accept it and move on. That's the way you thrive. Celebrate your milestones. Oh my God, I ate today. Oh my God, I have 2 pieces of hair left. You know what I mean? Like something to that effect. But keep hope
Right.
alive. And spirituality, reflect on your faith and values, whatever that is, right? Meditation actually calms your body and mind, and to advocate for thriving, lead by example, and show resilience. And I want to talk to John about his program. Before we end this conversation, what kind of program do you have for people who's going through cancer right now, John?
Well, well, thanks. I mean, my basic program was founded upon 8 sessions, and each session deals with a specific topic. We start with fear of being recently diagnosed, and then we kind of branch into education and how we talked about how to educate for yourself, right? And how do I learn more about what I'm going through, but not only what I'm going through, but what resources are available, because people don't know what we don't know, right? So there are these resources that are available to us, whether it's financial aid, whether it's getting our our prescriptions filled, whether it's getting rides to and from the hospital or the treatment center or my doctor's office. There's so many things that we don't know, and so how do I educate myself? Again, because education is power. Then we talk about what CJ was just mentioning about self-advocacy. How do you learn to speak up for yourself, right? It's just as important as your doctor is telling you what's going on and what's happening, but it's just as important for you to report back to your medical team what's happening. Like, if you're not eating, or if you're just really nauseous from the medication, or this whatever side effects you're having, whether you're tired, whether you're nauseous, whether you can't eat, whatever it is, you have to share back with your medical team what's happening, because you have to be you have to be proactive, not reactive when it comes to your cancer journey and your treatment. And that's kind of what I was very reactive. Like I said, I kind of did what the doctors told me to do. I wasn't very proactive. And then we talk about, like CJ mentioned, about spirituality, and how instead of blaming your higher power for why are you punishing me with this, but how do you tap into that faith? What practices do you do? How do you use your faith to get into that mindset of, I can do this. I'm going to do this. You get that inner strength, whether it's meditation, whether it's, going to services wherever you go on a regular basis, whether it's talking to a priest or an imam or a minister or a rabbi or a monk, or whatever you choose to do. Then, again, that's another support person in your support system, is your cleric, right? And then we kind of deal with 2 sessions on health and wellness. The first is diet and nutrition. Are you eating the proper things, right? Are you getting enough exercise? Like CJ talked about, right? We may not be able to go to the gym 5 days a week, but like CJ said, go for a walk, right? Go walk around your yard, go walk around the block, whatever you're capable of doing, do, right? And again, these are things that you should be discussing with your medical team, telling them what is going on, being proactive, right? Being an advocate for yourself. And then the second part of that is sleep and rest. Like CJ talked about, she was taking naps and getting her kids to take naps, because again, you need to recharge. I was working while I was going through chemo, and I would normally work like 7:30 to 4:30 days. I was lucky if I can get into the office at 9:30, and by 12 o'clock, I was done. I was exhausted. I needed to come home and take a nap in order to get through the rest of my day. Then we talk about dreams, right? And how can I use dreams to kind of get into that mindset of, I'm positive. Like, what things do you want to do while you're on your cancer journey? Are there things you can do on your cancer journey, right? Or what things am I looking forward to after my cancer journey, right? Because it's about creating that hope, right? And when you have hope, that's where the will to fight comes from. And then the last session that we kind of deal with in part of my signature program, is survivorship, and what you want to do with the rest of your life, God willing that you beat cancer, right? Because having cancer shouldn't define you. It doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define who CJ is. We've made choices that we're going to thrive, right? It's just a chapter in our story, right? There's so much of your story left to tell. How do you be the author of your story, right? Choose what you want to do with the rest of your life. It can be giving back, like I'm doing as a cancer coach. It could be, volunteering at a hospital. It could be writing a book about your story. It could be changing a career, whatever it is. You've just beat cancer or any other disease. There should be nothing that you feel like you can't do. So that's basically the program. What I've done recently is to kind of give people maybe a taste of what, you may not want to do 8 sessions, right? So I do have an option where you can sign up for 1 session or 3 sessions or 5 sessions, and just get a taste and pick and choose those topics that you feel you, or maybe even a loved one, right? Because, I may be talking to someone who isn't a cancer patient right now today, right? You may know someone in your life who is dealing with cancer or some sort of disease, right? You may be the caregiver for someone. So this might be an opportunity for them to, get into that mindset, learn more about how I can thrive during my journey. So like I said, there's an option, I'll put it in the chat in a minute. There is a link to find out more information about those options. And then, the other thing I'm launching probably in 2025 is more of an a la carte kind of program where, there might be 15 or 20 different topics, and you can pick and choose those topics that you want to work on, right? Instead of saying, here's 10 sessions, here's these 8 sessions that I offer, take some of those and enhance those with other topics and other issues people are struggling with, to say, hey, it might be, how do I talk to my children? How do I talk to my family and tell them about what's going on, right? Because that is a struggle that we have, right? How do I tell my family? How do I deal with my family? There might be something. I'm a caregiver. How as a caregiver can I be helpful? Or, so these are things that are coming down the pike. So that's kind of where my program is at the moment. I can also put my email in the chat if you guys want to learn more about the chat and and more about
Your
the
program.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, John, we are heading towards the end
Yes.
of this session. So, I'm going to ask you this question. And this is something that I always ask. And I'm so glad that I asked this question because I've lost 2 LinkedIn friends already this year. One is through cancer, and one, we don't know what the investigation actually ended up having, right?
Right.
But I always go back and share that video of my interview to their family, because it's a legacy that you're here. So this is my last question for you.
Yeah.
If this is
Yeah.
your last day today on this earth, what would be your parting message to your current and future families in terms of life, legacy, and impact?
Okay. So I think it is that I made an impact on people's lives where they didn't have the same kind of, I want to say, for lack of a better expression, a horrible or a difficult experience going through a disease, right? Yes, this is my livelihood, this is my career, but it's also really a calling and a mission for me. And that's kind of why, we were talking earlier and about, why I chose to be a virtual coach as opposed to having a brick and mortar kind of office, right? Because I want to reach as many people as possible. I don't want people to be limited to, I can't work with you because I don't live in New Jersey, right? So my goal is to kind of help as many people as possible to overcome their illnesses. And really that would be, I think, my legacy is to how can I help people thrive and feel more like themselves during their cancer journey.
Okay. But what if your family members are not going through that adversity? What would be your message to them about life in general?
Um, that it's up to you to live you choose how to you be the author of your story, right? It's like the same thing we talked about, right? No matter what adversity you face in life, whatever you overcome, it's about being the author of your story. And it's up to each one of us to um, how the story is written. So that would be my message: is be the author of your story. Don't let other people write your story for you. Go out and make things happen. Make a difference not only in your life but in the lives of others, and make the most of your life with what you have.
I love that. I think mine changes as time passes. I have a lot of messages, obviously. um, if you are my
Right.
future great, 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 great grandkids, I want you to know that your past doesn't define your future. I want you to express your
Right.
love
Because
to your family and friends. And I want you to know that for your love for you is an infinite and eternal. I also want you to share your gratitude and what you're grateful for. And don't be one of these people that is looking for something always because they feel empty inside when something that you're looking for is actually within you. I encourage you
right,
to find your strength and make sure that you look at the term resilience and what it means to you and not to the other people. Leave words of wisdom or guidance not only for others, but for your own self. Because it's so easy to advise people on what to do. But the moment that you actually take your own advice, it's like, can I do this? So I always take my own advice to test it if I can even do it, because why am I asking people to do it if I can't do it? And so leave words of
Right.
wisdom or guidance and take it yourself. And then the other one is highlight the legacy you hope to leave. And it's not permanent. Nothing is set in stone. You can change and pivot. Like my greatest wish is that you remember me not with sadness, but with the pride and joy for the love we shared and the life that I lived. Whatever love, because obviously you're my great great grandkids. I don't know, but my blood, my DNA is running through you. So I offer reassurance or peace, and don't go for a goal that is unattainable. Two goals that I want you to focus on, and that is what? Happiness and peace. That is your goal only to live your life. Happiness and peace. What makes you happy? And be peaceful at night, knowing that you have food on your table, shelter on your head, and you have your family with you. Be grateful for what you have and don't have. Be grateful that you don't have cancer. Be grateful that you don't have too much mama drama. By the way, if you do, change your environment. Be grateful that you have no other diseases than what you already have, right? Be grateful for those things and be grateful for your family that you do have. Some of them are toxic. We have to love them from afar. It's okay. You can't change your family or your bloodline, but be grateful for them anyway. And find goodness on people. Don't concentrate on the negative parts of people. We all have negative parts, people. But don't concentrate on my negative, concentrate on my positive, because that moment is what that propels you to stay resilient, to stay grateful, to stay hopeful, and have faith always. And then, of course, my loving goodbye is always until we meet again. Know that you are my forever family because we're dedicated on the love and the bloodline, right? But I love you more than words can ever express. So that is my message to my future great grandkids, for sure. So I love you guys. Thank you, John, for coming in today. I appreciate you. And hopefully, you guys have learned something from John. He is going to post it on our messages in terms of where he is taking his business next year of 2025. Leo, I know Leo is here watching us. My sister Danielle, my sister Susanna. I love you guys. And I will always have you in my heart. And for all my great great grandkids out there, look them up. Danielle Manawis, Leo Manawis, they're on the magazines as well, right? And on this TV. And also my sister Susanna. You'll always see them. She will always see them. You'll always see her specifically on my TV shows as well. So I will see you guys tomorrow, Thursday at 9 a.m. PST. And that is for TV. And we'll have four amazing people. Sister Susanna's going to be there. Brother Mike, bro, look at this. Do you see this? I wear camo today. Okay. It's actually a dress and it's very comfortable. It's a camo sweater. Um, it will be with Amy Hammond and Dr. Mary, right? She's an optometrist and she's also part of our book. Amy's not part of our book, but I put and hold a special place for Amy because I've seen her support and engagement on my LinkedIn post. And I love you, dear sister. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. Bye, everybody. Are you a curious student, eager to learn new skills and make your mark in the world? Or are you a professional seeking to advance your career and unlock your full potential? You need to be equipped with effective soft skills like communication, problem solving, teamwork, and more. The Level Up Academy by Doc Leland bridges the gap between education and employment through transferable skills training. Get the soft skills you need to be more effective at work.